Now, there's another story about the spiralling cost of dementia care in the papers today. A major new report predicts that dementia care costs for families will treble to £62 billion in the next 20 years. And with more than 110,000 people forced to give up their jobs in the past year alone to care for ailing relatives, is it time employers started offering dementia care leave? It's an interesting concept, this one, isn't it? Because, you know, you have maternity leave, there's compassionate leave. So this idea of, do we now have to start thinking of offering people time off work, employers giving time off work for people to care for their loved ones? Because as we said there, 110,000 people just last year gave up work, or some retired, because they needed to look after a loved one.
But I think it's very, very, very difficult for employers, actually, as far as dementia goes, because there's no timescale on dementia. You know, I remember when my mum was diagnosed, and the first thing you ask is, well, you know, how long's it going to be? And they said, listen, it could be a year, or she could be another 10 years. That you can't judge how long somebody's going to live with dementia. And so how could you expect employees to, you know, pay for that, to carry on paying for that care? They wouldn't be able to afford it. And also, why should they really?
Yeah, and also, Colleen, a lot of women I know are looking after elderly parents who don't have dementia but have other, you know, severe health issues, and they have no idea how long their parents are going to live, and they've had to give up work, sell their houses to pay for supplementary care for those parents. And, you know, so it's not just an issue about dementia, it's about all the health needs of an ageing population.
So what... It's such a difficult situation, because what is the answer, or what would be progression? Because whenever I speak to you, Ruth, and I hear about the heartache you've had to go through with your family and your dad, and what it means to have somebody close to you with dementia, how do we fix the problem that there is absolutely...
Well, it's multifaceted, isn't it? It's not one thing is going to fix it. And I think you have to look at... you have an ageing population, for a start. People are living longer. But the problem with Alzheimer's, it's not that the families are funding the care themselves, and people are spending, you know, on average, £100,000 to look after a family member. And most of that is coming from using people's life savings and selling their home. Now, you might say, well, if you've got it, then you should spend it. But other illnesses are covered under social care. And so you've got to look, it's got to come from government. It's also got to come from us maybe paying more taxes, which people don't always want to do. You know, and it needs a complete overhaul, I think, the whole system, because you could say, you know, someone like my dad, who'd worked hard all his life, he had some savings, he bought his own home, he worked hard, he paid off his mortgage, and you can have Joe Bloggs, who spent his life down the pub, you know, no intention of getting a job, drank it all away, and hasn't got any savings, hasn't got anything, will end up probably having the same care paid for by the state as my dad would have had, but we had to fund that from the money that he and my mother had worked very hard for and saved. So it depends how you look at that, doesn't it?
Well, then, should
there be a system? Shouldn't there be a system that says it shouldn't be means tested? We all pay into a fund. We pay our taxes like we pay our taxes. I pay my taxes for, you know, hospitals and schools. There are people that pay their taxes for schools that don't have children. So we all pay our taxes. Should that then be, the social care should be spread, that people with dementia should not be means tested. You should just have that care under that umbrella.
But the cost of that care, as you say, has got to come from somewhere. But what we've heard over the last 2 weeks are both Tories and all the political parties offering to huge spending sprees. But what nobody seems to be talking about is that to fund everything you've just outlined, Ruth, we need to raise taxes. Plus, pensioners now need to think about the fact that they're still... pensioners now are 3 times better off than they were 40 years ago, whereas working people are only twice as well off. So my generation is whether, obviously it's not applies to everyone, but the majority of us are better off than we were before. So maybe we should be paying more national insurance, maybe we should have been paying more tax earlier on. And there's an argument for funding care of all kinds right from the minute you start work.
Well, in Germany, Japan and the Netherlands, they have a social insurance policy. So it's an insurance policy set up by the government that then covers the cost of care, and it's automatically taken out of your paycheck, and employers contribute too.
Like a
so
national-
maybe from when you start work.
So that's like national insurance.
Yeah. So if you look at it like that, then it's not means tested, because then even if, you know, you don't end up with a situation where you've got some people that have worked hard, saved their money, lived maybe a slightly more frugal life, planning for their retirement and what they're going to do, and then they're hit by dementia or Alzheimer's, and that money just drains away, and often leaving their partner who's left, you know, with short of money. So maybe something like that would help to make it a level.
But what we need are
playing
politicians who are willing to take this head on, because it's it's not exactly a vote grabber to tell people they've got to pay more in tax. And back in 2011, Andrew Dilnot produced the Dilnot report, which came out with proposals about how to fund social care, and no government since has put it into action.
Yeah.
So,
But do you think that everyone would get on board if
but if you make it compulsory, you say to people, you're always talking about it's our National Health Service, how much we value the National Health Service and how much we value, the health care in this country. We're just going to have to pay for it.
But we do pay for it.
They pay more.
But then do you feel that if we look
What,
at
like
what
the
we pay
government won't
now
again?
and where it goes, and we look at the state of some of our
Yeah.
schools, our hospitals, our care already, and people already feel like they're paying lots of money in taxes and they're not getting what they would love to have, do you think that asking for more taxes is actually going to... Will it achieve what you want it to
would be
achieve?
that they have to run government more efficiently, so half the number of MPs and
Yes.
cut the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a gap. There's a funding gap for
Yes.
people with dementia. That's very, very clear, and that's what a lot of people are fundraising for. They've sent petitions to Downing Street. So I think people will be looking towards the next government, whoever that may be, after December the 12th, to have quite a radical reform of the social care system, because it
someone
seems
to
very
be brave,
unjust.
Ruth.
Someone to
Yeah.
be brave enough.